Welcome, everybody, to Greg Talks to People, the only show where for a half an hour I look like I'm a normal person. On today's show, we have probably one of the most famous wrestling fans out there. It's Felicia Rose. Welcome to the show, Felicia.
Well, thank you. That is quite the statement. I don't know if that's true, but I appreciate it.
I mean, I would say there's, millions of wrestling fans out there. A lot of people know who you are, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Um, but first of all, I want to ask you, how did you get into wrestling in the first place?
I dabbled in it in childhood. It wasn't allowed in my house. So
Ah,
luckily, my best friend down the road, her whole family loved wrestling, and it was, a bunch of brothers and then her. And so I got to sneak watching it. So China was like the first thing that I saw that I was like, she is holy. Like it just blew my mind. She was just, yeah, it sucked me in from there. I wasn't able to obviously follow along though. So uh, I got really busy and didn't really watch like any TV in my later teens and 20s. And then at one point in my later 20s, I was dating somebody and she was obsessed with wrestling, like would wake up to watch the New Japan shows at like 3 a.m. or whatever,
mm, mhm.
and I'd be like, I have to go to work in 2 hours. What are you doing? But then I'd start watching and I was like, what is this? And that was about, I want to say 11, 12 years ago. And then I started to pay attention to NXT, and that was during like that sweet spot era
Mhm.
of, like the Finns and the Bailey and that was just
Yeah.
such a fun time. And then that really sucked me in. I wasn't super drawn to like the main roster, but NXT and then indie shows got me really into watching wrestling. And then, yeah, it's been a literal whirlwind ever since.
Well, you mentioned NXT, and the first bit of you being known to the world is the signs that you made, and you've made a lot of them over the years. So, when did you start doing them, and when did you realize, hey, this little bit could be my thing?
So it was the first time was definitely not an accident. I just didn't have the intent of it even being seen by anybody beside my friends and like a few people from the section, because my seats were 200. I was in the
Yeah.
highest section, like the truly, if you have a height fear, you shouldn't be up there kind of thing. Um, so that was in 2015 at the first NXT Brooklyn. And my friends were in a section where there was nobody behind them like the whole show. And so finally, right before the main event, I snuck down and I held up my sign. And some people say that they saw it on TV. I did not see it on TV. The only piece of media that I saw for this sign is that one famous picture that I
Mhm.
still don't know who took it. And I only saw one other photo, like subsequently, that came out from that night of like quote unquote like people fans there. I did not
Mhm.
see anybody else's photos, whether they took photos or not. And that one photo made it to Botchamania, I believe, that night, and I was on the street and somebody walked up to me. It was like I was still holding the sign, mind you, and because it somehow did not get taken away, and somebody was like, you're on Botchamania, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And at the time, nobody knew this chick with this cardboard sign was Felicia Rose. So like it ended up being like a lot of like I had to go back and connect my name to it, because there wasn't a huge uh IWC Twitter community back then. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't what it is now. And
Right.
so it took a little bit of time for people to figure out who I was. And yeah, it was the face fuck me Finn sign. I know I buried the lead on that one, but
Mhm.
so I didn't really think of it as being a bit or a thing, but I got a lot of hate for it, right? Of course,
Mhm.
especially back then. I mean, this we're still nowhere near where we need to be in progressive ideology in wrestling, but we're a lot better than we were what that was 11 years ago now. So
Yeah.
if you could still Google it, if you Google it, and you can see all these Reddit threads about how gross I am, how I'm a ring rat, how, I'm a piece of shit, all of these things because of the sign. And, I don't care what people think, obviously. But in a way, I was almost like, well, if you're going to say that, why not just keep doing it? Right. Like, why not piss people off more and get more creative with it? I know that, again, that first sign was not intended to be seen by mass groups of people. So, I was really vulgar on it. And I obviously later got a little less vulgar, got more punny, tongue in cheek, things that kids wouldn't understand. Not that kids understand face fuck, but it's not, it's still a little bit more on the nose than say like finger blast me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little more veiled. I don't, it's still all terrible, but at the end of the day, my intent was just to like, kind of piss people off, but also get a pop out of the wrestlers. And a lot of the wrestlers knew I was doing it, or I asked permission ahead of time,
Mhm.
which a lot of people don't know. But, people would come to me and ask me to hold signs. And, usually I would say, we'll see. But there were a lot of times where they were in on the thing. So,
Did you have a favorite sign that you made?
Excuse me. Yes, I think no flips, just fist me was just well done. I
Yeah.
painted that by hand, and I am no artiste, so I was very
Oh, me neither.
But I do think that "Come here, rude boy, boy, is you big enough," which is a Rihanna quote,
Yeah,
using
that
Bobby Roode
was a
as
creative one.
the pun there. And then I wrote "big" in tape that was made out of rulers. Yeah, real filthy, but that was one of my favorites and definitely underrated. I don't think it got as big of like acknowledgement as like, finish on my face, for example, which was also a classic.
Right.
Which he too sweeted me for that one. Or no, that was finger blast me. Yeah, I was in Albany for the NXT house show.
There you
And
go.
he walked right up to me and it was like, hi. It's like, hello, my side. So yeah, it's been a fun journey, but those are some of my favorites. I definitely have some more, well, okay, I will say that my slob on that Hobbs, like corn on the cob, was fucking amazing and did not get as much attention as it should have, because that is a hilarious thing to quote and also incorporate some of this. Like, that's just, I'm a genius, I will say. I'm a fucking genius.
The puns are fantastic. Like
Thank you.
I very much appreciate the puns.
I appreciate
You mentioned it earlier how like you pissed a lot of people off with the
Mhm.
signs you made, but like otherwise online, how do you deal with all the negativity and criticism? Because like you get a lot of it thrown your way.
Yeah.
So how do you like put that aside, or do you take it to heart? Like how do you deal with that?
Well, I have a great therapist, but honestly, even before that, I just it doesn't I won't say none of it bothers me. There's always that one or two, there's always that little sore spot for you that you're like, "Ooh, that one hurt because I'm self-conscious about that this week or something."
Mhm.
I do remember getting called fat at a time where I was very self-conscious and also very much not fat. So now I'm like 60 pounds heavier and I also don't care either, but like it's just so interesting to see the things people like will claim to attack you over, and it's just like, you what are you even talking about? Anyway, so it's how I deal with it is I just don't think I care, because it's like, for every one person that is like, oh, this girl's a fucking disgusting piece of shit, there's like 10 people subscribing to me, so fuck it.
Yeah.
I really don't care. I would lie. I'd be lying if I said there weren't, like I said, certain things that get under your skin at certain points, especially, if I'm having like a hormonal day, that your comment might hurt my feelings a little more.
Mhm.
But the things that bother me, I've always been like, I was always a fat kid. I was always kind of ugly. I was always like a tomboy. I've heard it all already, so you're not going to hurt me that bad. I think the things that hurt me the most are when people think that I'm like not good at something. I shouldn't be admitting this because now somebody's going to go, but like when somebody's like, you're bad at this thing that you do, that's like more harmful to me than saying like,
Mhm.
oh, you're ugly. I'm like, okay, I don't
Yeah,
care.
imposter syndrome is a real thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Imposter syndrome is a bitch. That's probably one of my least favorite parts of like being a name that somewhat is a little bit out there, right? That's about
Right.
the biggest thing. But everybody that makes fun of me, I'm just like, that's just, you're icky and you probably have something internal that you need to work on. You know, I think I just understand psychology too much to really let it get to me, because I'm like, oh, that's projecting, honey. Or like,
Mm.
you know, I'll see you in 10 years probably copying me and holding dirty signs, which I will say I have receipts. A lot of the women that made fun of me or talked shit or like liked a post about, they're doing exactly what I do now. And I'm like, ah, it's cute that you're trying to be me, even though you
Uh,
spoke so ill. You know, it's like, whatever. So you see what it is. It's that they're just projecting or internalizing something. And you're like, okay, honey, let's go to therapy, you know?
exactly. Those receipts are always satisfying when they come up.
It is. And like I don't keep them to be petty, but I do keep them so that I can like know who to trust. I
Mhm.
have some people in my circle now. They're not in my circle, but they think that they're in my circle, and I'm like, I know what you said about me 9 years ago. I have the receipts, you know, like. But you got to keep them close because for a rainy day, if you will. I sound so evil.
No, no. Listen, after the last year I've dealt with, I completely understand.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that
Now,
more later.
yeah. Now you've been involved in a lot of independent wrestling shows as well as like a
Mhm.
manager, as like a personality on screen. And I've seen, I've gone on your Instagram, seen a couple of the posts that you've made regarding those. Entertaining, by the way.
Thank you.
Um, so, what have been some of your favorite or most rewarding moments from indie wrestling?
Oh, that's a fun question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. I really liked when I got to share a ring with Ron Simmons and get him to say "damn." I shared that
Mhm.
recently.
Yep.
That was just so fun. And also, he didn't know what I was going to say to get him to say "damn." He just met me briefly. We were like, "Listen, here's the spot. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to say something. I'm known as naughty. Like we prepared him with the gist, right? But I was like, I'm
Mhm.
known as like the naughty girl. I'll say something like that the kids don't understand here, and you have your build up to saying damn. And he was like, okay, cool. And he didn't know where I was going to go with it, you know? And then I pull out this, like, basically you made me come line. And he's like, what the fuck? You can see on his face. He's actually like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
I like caught him off guard. So that was fun. Um, Other rewarding moments, I have cut some promos in the ring that meant a lot to me. So obviously, like, there's a storyline involved, but most of the message for these two specific ones I'm thinking of, it was basically like, you know, there's a place for everybody here. Like, we're all rejects in wrestling anyways. So,
Mhm.
you know, like, this isn't like the cool kid sport to get into, right? Let's be
Right.
so for real. Most of us are nerds. And like, that's why it's such a big idea when like Olivia Rodrigo shows up to a show, because it's like, oh, a cool person's here, you know. It's, anyways, not to say
Mhm.
we're not all cool, but you know what I'm trying to say. So it's like, uh I basically cut these promos that are like, you know, of all the places where the whore should feel a part of the group is here. And like this, you know, I shouldn't be shunned because I'm a slut, and the sluts in the audience shouldn't be either. And it doesn't really matter how you identify. We all belong here as long as we're like all respectful. And
Mhm.
also, it was like a big moment of like, you know, commentary on how we treat women and how it's okay to be whatever flavor woman you want, and you should still be able to have a spot here. And also, I can do two things at once. I can suck a dick and cut a promo, so like, let's go, right? So it's a little bit of that, a little sass thrown in, but those were probably some of my favorite moments because it was like electric from the audience. It wasn't, you know, I love my heel moments where I get to get the audience to boo me and call me a bitch and all that. That's great. I love it.
Mhm.
But when you get the audience to actually go from like, oh, like this is somebody yelling at us, but now we're like backing her. I'm
Mhm.
like, ah, shit. Like, I can't be a heel even if I try because everybody loves it. You know, it was like, it's just one of these like rewarding moments where everybody was like, yeah, fuck yeah, what she's saying is so true. And I'm like, that was real. Like, that was me putting my heart out there. Yeah, again, a storyline is attached, but the gist of what I was saying, like, it came from my heart. And so, I don't know, those were really cool for me. I really enjoyed those moments. And then the last show I worked was actually quite a bit ago. It was almost 2 years now. And that was probably my favorite show ever. I got to help book it because it was, you know, an all women and femme show. And it was at a queer punk, like indie wrestling place where we don't talk about it kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I pitched my idea for the match that I was a part of, and everybody was like, yeah. And then it was main evented. So I was so excited about just my idea coming together. Everybody was on board about it. It also like extended another storyline. I extended 2 storylines actually. And then I got to like basically tell a whole crowd of queer people that there was nothing to be proud of, even though it was Pride Month. Like that was my favorite heel moment ever, because I'm just like this very queer woman just being a complete cunt. And it was just so fun to get everybody against me in that moment, you know, and get everybody on
Mhm.
Jordan's side. It was really fun. And I had such a good time in that. And then just the whole match, just like the physicality that I was involved in was fun. Like instead of taking a bump, I got choked out and crumbled to the ground. I really liked that. I'm not a big fan of bumps, so I'm trying not to take those. So yeah, just that was a really rewarding. Like if I will put it this way, if that were my last show ever, I'm okay with that because it was a beautiful show. But at the same time, I don't want to be done. I'm too addicted to it. I really love it. I've just been very selective about what I get involved with at this point. So
No, I understand. Going back to something you said earlier, like cutting promos, like people take that for granted. I feel like, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me, sometimes cutting promos, like even just by myself or like out loud or to myself, I get a lot of actual real emotions out of it. I get a lot of, how I'm feeling, how I'm processing things. I process a lot of things, even now to this day, through the veil of wrestling. So
mhm.
I don't know if you feel the same way, but that was just
Oh
something
yeah.
that,
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, some people take out their like I don't want to say take out their anger, but like, you know, they're big emotions, right? When we feel those big emotions, sometimes we go for a run or we go, you know, we do something that gets that adrenaline pumping. For
yeah.
me, getting in that ring, everything goes completely silent and it's just me and raw emotion. And it's that raw emotion that's guiding me into that next line because, you know, we know it's not 100% scripted. You might have a couple bullet points, but you don't have, you know, we don't all memorize our promos, you know? So it's like one
Mhm.
of those things where it's like that raw emotion is just like guiding you to that next line. And it's like that I come out and it feels like I like ran like a fucking whatever a long distance run is. I don't know this shit, but you know, I ran a half marathon after it, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just like I can see that. Like I can see like that processing is just like, especially when you have something, you know, where you have feeling behind it and it's not just like you're kind of going through the motions. It's definitely this like it's like a euphoric feeling in a way. It's interesting.
There you go. Now, one of the things you're also known for is you create a lot of adult content.
I
So,
was gonna say sucking dick, but I didn't want to interrupt. But yeah, yeah.
well, I mean, I'm sure there's more to it than that. But when did you make that decision to pursue that avenue, and what are the perks and challenges of choosing that path?
Good question. I have done sex work since I was 19. I was just quiet and different flavors of it and just never told anybody about it really. And then after my sign went viral and then I started to pick up some traction online and people wanted to know me and things like that. I think I made a joke on Facebook one day about someone buying my nudes and all of a sudden my inbox flooded. And I was like, this is interesting. Maybe I could do this. But I was also still working in corporate America.
Right.
Fast forward a few months, and corporate America ended up, I basically made myself obsolete. So I built my own department from the ground up, hired everybody, got everybody working and functioning, and there was no longer a need for me. So when
Mhm.
they did mass layoffs, they laid off like 400 people at once or something crazy, and they included me in the list, which makes sense. You know, I was so
Right.
good at my job, I didn't need to be there anymore. So I was a little devastated, but I also had a little severance. So I was just like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So I started to dabble in these sales. And it was all direct. It was all like, I'm talking like I would charge like $100 for like 5 photos because to me, it was like, I don't want these getting leaked. I don't know if this is something I want to do with my life. Like, I wanted to do porn since I was 16. I
Mhm.
had a friend set up a meeting with Stormy Daniels that I ended up bailing on because I was so self-conscious about my body. By the time I was 18, by the way, I wasn't, I was like 19
Right.
at the time. Yeah. I wasn't, but like, since I was 16, I was like, I want to be a porn star. I love porn. I think it's awesome. I think it would be a cool thing to do. So fast forward to this opportunity to sell my nudes. And I was like, how do I do this, but stay offline in case I have to go get a corporate America job again. Right. And it just kind of kept snowballing into more and more work. And I ended up just falling in love with it. And it started off as just me doing direct sales. And then eventually I opened up a ManyVids account, which was very big for me because I'm like, oh my God, like this is now findable. You know, it's not just like, oh, I could, because you know, if it's just direct sales, like whether it's leaked or not, you could be like, well, I just sent it personally to somebody. You can kind of like rationalize that away. Whereas if I'm on a website, I'm on a fucking website, right? This is what I'm doing for a living. There's no, there's no like lying about that. So yeah, I was really nervous about it. I don't know why. I don't know why I was nervous about it. I was always a sexual person. I always had a sex podcast of some flavor. I don't know why I was so nervous, but I ended up just saying fuck it, and now it became my full-time job, and it remains to be to this day, and I love it. Oh, and challenges. Sorry, you said that. Yeah. Well, like every customer service or sales job has challenges, right? Like first of all, the market got so saturated in the last like 5-6 years because of post-COVID. Right. So like, you know, just competitive pricing, like I have to now charge way less than what I would say even like 3 years ago. The market sucks because, you know, nobody's making money anymore, so nobody has money to spend on the extras, right? So luckily I have my however many like loyal people that just prefer to get off with me, and so like that sort of keeps me afloat for now. I want to do it forever. I don't think I ever want to stop doing it, but I do have to like layer it with some other form of income at this point because I'm not viral. I don't have like a huge following. So there's not really like that regeneration of customers. It doesn't just like organically happen for me, where a lot of people that have, 200,000 plus followers, they don't have to really like, stress about that because they just have a continuation of new subscribers regularly. So I love it, but it doesn't love me the way I want it to. So.
It's rough whenever you get into something that you're just really passionate about, and like for a little bit, like it can sustain you. But
yeah, I mean, it's been 11 years, but it's been a tough 11 years. Like it's not like I'm rolling in dough. I'm still like, who wants to pay to get my nails done? Which they should. These are my customers. They should absolutely be paying for everything that I do. I should, be paid to fucking fart. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the economy sucks. And so I know that, the same people that would want to be spoiling me regularly, like they can't at this point. So I just have to be, unfortunately, a realist about it and find something new.
Yeah. One of the last things you said there just triggered something in my mind. What's the weirdest thing you've ever been asked for?
Everybody always asks that. I have like a bag of foot skin right over there that I'm mailing out. Things like that. I don't think like I don't like to kink shame, so I don't really consider them weird. I consider them unusual because they're just like not a thing I get asked for regularly, right? But like. Right. Yeah, I get, I don't know. I really think the things that stick out to me are the things that are just like really intricate fetishes, right? Where it's like so specific. Like I recently had somebody ask me to reenact, it was like a 20-second video. And I had to reenact this one line from this one porn they saw in the 90s. And it was so specific, and it referenced like weight loss stuff, and it was really interesting and weird, and it was clearly like they were fetishizing my fatness, and I was fine with that, but like it was just so like specific, and those are the things where I'm like, this is so interesting, like these memories that stay with people that create these fetishes over time is just, that's so like interesting to me. I get a lot of like shit requests and things like that. I don't find those weird. I just find those to be stuff that like, I can't fulfill on the average website. I'm going to ask you for a lot of money for it. So you're probably not going to be willing to, like, don't ask me for that kind of stuff. I'm going to charge you a lot because I'm not comfortable with it. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really consider anything weird. I really like this one customer that asks me to recreate like an idle hands type scenario where like my hand takes over. It's like haunted and it like strips me down and then I'm embarrassed. So it's like in the embarrassed naked female category technically. But like I'm embarrassed because I'm like giving a meeting to like my business meeting or something, and I'm giving a PowerPoint, and all of a sudden my hand takes my clothes off and I'm sitting there naked and fat and scared. I think those are fun.
It's amazing what people will come up with for.
Yeah, and like what, like I always want to ask them like, where did you get this fetish? But I try not to be too, I don't like want to psychoanalyze people. But if I'm like very comfortable with them, or if they've requested hundreds of videos from me, I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna be like, when did you come up with this? Like, where in your like adolescence did this strange thing happen, or like whatever, so they usually tell me, and it's usually exactly what I think it is, which is that it's just like they came across the scenario that they just happen to also be horny during, and now they just Pavlov's dog kind of shit. So
fascinating. Now, do you have an ultimate goal that you want to achieve?
Like in life?
Yeah, like it can be with the content. It can be just like, this is, if there's one thing I can do before all is said and done, this is it.
I really want to actually publish a book and like not just start writing 100 of them and then put it away and never look at it again. That would probably be my number one goal, is to publish a book that people actually enjoy reading. It doesn't have to be like famous or number one seller, but something where like, even if like 5 people read it and they were like, this resonated with me, I really like this, that would be sick. That would be like definitely a big check on the list. That's always been a goal of mine since I was like a little kid. So
any particular topic, or just you'd like
not
to
necessarily. I really like writing smut. I'm really good at it, and I wasted and sext. I mean, I don't want to say wasted because it gets the job done, but like, I use a lot of my best lines during like sexting sessions. I'm like, I need to charge more for this shit. I really like smut, and oddly enough, I do want to write some like children's books. So I found somebody that's going to illustrate, and I want to do that. I wouldn't put it under my name though. We don't need to associate two things.
Right.
I put it under something else. But yeah, like I know those are the exact polar opposites on the opposite ends of the spectrum. But yeah, those are things that I'm definitely interested in. I took some playwriting courses. I would be into writing a script of some sort for either a play or a TV show or something like that. Yeah, I think that's why I want to make more money, so I have more time to just like be creative with that sort of thing.
I get it. Like I've always dreamed about pitching game shows and stuff like that, but
hell yeah,
producing that kind of stuff costs a lot of money, which I do not have. So
yeah,
is what it is. So last question for you: throughout your journey, whether it be wrestling, whether it be the work that you do, who would you say has helped you the most? And is there anyone that you'd like to give flowers to that has been influential to you?
Oh wow. The time, it's like it spans so much time. I should probably say thank you to so many people, but first and foremost, Chris Worthless, who runs the Wild Zero promotion upstate. He was like one of my first friends in wrestling that I didn't have other, like, we had no mutual friends, I should say. And he's been a rock. He has been one of the most loyal friends as far as like, when people are choosing between another person and myself, he always chooses me. And I can't really say more than that, but he's just a great guy. He really is. And I just really appreciate everything he's done for me. He's given me, he was the person who was like, you should be a manager. And I was like, okay, really? What? And he was like, yeah, work my first show. And I was like, okay. And I got up there like, I was so like out of sorts, but I fell in love, and and I loved it ever since. But yeah, he would be a huge one. And Tara Calloway, shout out to her, and obviously her husband. She reached out to me when I felt like nobody was going to during a dark time for me for like in wrestling. Some stuff happened and I felt like even my own friends in wrestling were like turning their backs. And not to say everybody, and I don't want to generalize, but I don't know. It just felt like she like reached out to me at the perfect time and was like, I believe you. I'm listening. I'm here for you. And to this day, like that meant the absolute fucking entire world to me. So, yeah, I would say those two are definitely top of the list. Solid people. I would, I would put my neck out for both of them because I know they would do the same for me. So
It's awesome. Thank you, Felicia. For those wondering, where can they find you on social media?
follow my new account. I have my old account, People's Tramp, but that one is like suppressed. So just follow my new one. It's Felicia MF Rose, and that is on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also follow my Facebook page, which is just, the Facebook thing / Felicia Rose, I believe. So follow me there if you have a Facebook. What else do I have? Oh, my OnlyFans is Felicia Rose New. And my loyal fans is Felicia Rose. And yeah, you should be able to follow me through all that stuff.
There you go. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode, Felicia. Go check her out on all forms of social media. And thank you for watching this episode of Greg Talks to People. You can find me on all forms of social media at Greg Cherry Brand. And until next time, be kind to each other.
Thanks.